Ben, you're riding Winning Diamond for Dinner Ship, making his debut. You've been on board for three of his 4 trials. What have you made of him so far?
Yeah, he's been lovely off the experience I've had with him, Tom. He's been very professional for a debutant that hasn't, obviously coming here as a PPG. He's really showing signs of a nice, mature horse. So looking forward to riding him race day.
It's fair to say he didn't look like he needed too much persuading to find the line in his recent trial up at Chung Fa.
No, it was very much on his own terms. He's like in each of his trials, he's kept improving. I rode him in his first 2 and then his 4th trial. But even watching his 3rd, he looked like he took good progression again from his 2nd to his 3rd and did so from his 3rd to 4th. So he feels well equipped, or as well equipped as can be leading into that debut race. Barriers coming out, with him drawing barrier 12, looks perfect. Obviously, it's always advantageous to draw closer to the outside rail, which he has. He has to take on seasoned, competitors. However, someone in the race.
Like at the trials as well, at the start, he looks like he's been getting away on even terms as well.
He has. He really done that at his first trial. And even since, without riding him in one of the 4, he's always felt as though he could have, made play, vying for the front if left to his own devices, but probably just part of the schooling, education process. We've elected to find cover with him. He's handled that well too. So obviously with a horse like Cheval Valley in the race, they're not going to be going at a leisurely tempo, but he feels like he's got the right tools to handle the occasion well, and hopefully debut in a really good way.
Forever folks lining up on the all-weather for Michael Chang. Typical sort of run from him last time out, get back, run on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And to the horse's credit, and more so, Michael Chang and his team, he's such a model of consistency. Really found what makes him tick and what he enjoys in his racing. So, and more often than not, that's the all-weather track. As I said, he's very consistent, and as like a lot of his competitors, it's probably just a lot of the races are all half the result feels like it's dealt on paper, before we even get on horseback. So coming up with barrier 1's fantastic. I will say he does prefer, like most horses, the standard harrowed track. So I'm hoping the rain isn't around and we're on a sealed track. But I think, off his form, you'd be confident he'll race well again.
I was going to ask about the draw with him because he's come up with gate number 1, but he does quite often draw out as well. With a horse like him and his racing style, where would you ideally prefer to draw with him?
Definitely inside. It's just funny because you think he's a horse that, even when he's won, there's been times he's been under pressure or needing encouragement 1,000 metres from home, and he, then regathers to win the race. Where I find he's a horse that does, or history says he's travelled better inside horses, funnily enough. So I'm very happy with being on the rail, just so he can be a bit more complacent if, covering ground. So on the rail would be great as long as we're, whatever we're following can present us room. But other than that, like his track work, there's been no change in him. He's just a consistent, happy horse. So it'd be a well-deserved victory if he can break through again.
Andrea, INNO Century lining up for Chris So. He's only a lightly tried 4-year-old having his 5th start, but it looks like he acquitted himself reasonably well last start.
For sure, he seems like he's getting better each run. He obviously ran at Shatin first start, and then obviously Chris decided to bring him to the Valley, and he's run well. I thought his last run was good. He looks like he's ready to step up in trip to 14, which is on tomorrow, and I think more of a galloping track like Shatin might suit him better too.
So that run last start, it was your advice or Chris's opinion that the 1400 would, on that run last start, be ideal for him this time?
Yeah, well, a bit of both. I obviously suggested I thought he was a horse that was ready to step up in trip, and he's had enough experience around here now to go back to Shatin. And I like the horse. He's a 4-year-old, but he's very lightly raced, and he's got a nice draw, and he's pretty straightforward. So hopefully we can get a good pitch. He doesn't do anything quick, but stepping up to 14, like I said, will really suit him.
Looks like he should get similar sort of run to what he got here at Happy Valley last start.
Yeah, last time we got a really good trip. We got a nice position just in behind the pace. Just faster horses later on over 1200 just sort of out sprinted him a little bit. He just sort of plodded on. So like I said, hopefully Saturday with a good draw up in trip and a nice track like Shatin should suit him better.
You're riding gorgeous win in the last. It's a pretty hot-looking Class 2 race over the 1,200 metres. You were on him a couple of runs ago. What are your thoughts going into Saturday with the Danny Shum runner?
Well, he's got a good gait in too. He's a horse that he's not had the best draws lately, but he sort of goes back anyway. But the draw helps. Like you said, it's a very hot race. But at this level, he should be very competitive.
He has been running well without sort of threatening the top 2 or 3. So you think he can measure up again and put him one of those sort of runs?
Of course he can. Yeah, like I said, I think they can make the case of 5 or 6 or most of the horses in this race. Like I said, it's a very hot race, but he's got a nice draw in Class 2. He's run well in group races, no beaten far. So back down to this level, he's actually galloped him the other morning and I trialled him too. So he seems in good order. So fingers crossed we can get a good trip around and he'll run big.
Mark, one more. He didn't have a great deal of luck up the straight, but it must have been satisfying to see when he did get clear. He found the line strongly.
Yeah, look, he just got strung up, and that's the nature of straight racing. When he needed to get a bit of momentum, he didn't, but he ran through the line well.
Stepping up to 1,200 metres from the 1,000 metres, was it just that ideal preparation going to 1,200 the way he finished off last start?
Yeah, and look, he's a horse that can be a bit aggressive, and he was in his trial. So I just wanted to give him a run first before we stepped him up in trip. But look, he's been good in his work, and he's drawn a bit awkwardly, but he's got good natural pace, so he'll put himself somewhere in a forward position.
You mentioned that trial on the all-weather at Sharton over the 1,200. He likes to roll along?
Yeah, look, he's a naturally quick horse, so you don't want to get in his way too much. He was still a little bit fresh going into that trial, and I just wanted that to just take the edge off him going into the race.
You mentioned the draw. It's a little tricky, gate 9. How do you see it panning out potentially?
Oh, look, I'll leave that in Zach's hands. But look, he'll settle in the first 4, I would imagine. Where in that first 4, we'll leave it up to Zach.
Hugh, Fast Network, he's lining up in a pretty hot-looking Class 2 race over 1,200 metres, but you were aboard him last time out. Were you surprised the manner that he did it? 4 lengths, that margin.
Yeah, I tell you what, he enjoyed the fast tempo. That it really set it up for him to finish the way he did. But he's certainly one of the most progressive horses in Hong Kong, and he's done well since his trial well at Chung Fa since then, and he's aided by an ace barrier, number 1. And yeah, there's some very worthy opponents in this race, and we've got to give them a few pounds. But look, he won with authority last time, and I don't think this race is any stronger.
And with that pace last start, even after the barriers, you had to give them a bit of a head start, the field, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I don't mind doing that if they're going quick enough. It's when you're giving them a head start and they're not going quick that it's a worry. But I think, he goes up a little bit in weight, but he's earned that. And, if he gets the same sort of circumstances, I don't think the weight will stop him.
The race set up this week with the good draw, you can just sit back again and watch everything unfold potentially?
Well, I'll just get him out and, I don't want to give away ground, but, I won't chase him up for a spot either. I'll just let him find that sweet rhythm, and hopefully it's very rare that you have a lacklustre run race, particularly at this sort of level in Hong Kong. So, yeah, I expect an even or quick run race, which will suit him, and we just need some clear room when we start to let him down.
He's up in the ratings now, 103. Is he the horse that could potentially make his presence felt rather in, like I say, a Group 3 Sharton Vase at the end of the month?
Yeah, I've got no doubt. I mean, like I said, he's one of the most progressive horses in the jurisdiction, and look, he's a very sensible horse. He's got a good brain and he's got a good engine. So that's one step at a time, but, I think we're yet to see the ceiling with him.